This is the report from WLW in Cincinnati, where Johnny Bench made a statement and then apologized. Let's start here, and then I want to make sure we get to this. Here's the story from WLW.
Johnny Bench is apologizing today after he says he made an insensitive comment at yesterday's Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
It happened while Pete Rose was talking about his first contract offered by the late Gabe Paul, who was being inducted. Now, Paul's daughter, Jenny Paul, was there to represent her father, who was Jewish.
When I got out of high school in 1960, Gabe Paul signed me to a contract for $400 a month.
That's cheap.
He was Jewish.
Now, in a statement, Bench says, quote, "I recognize my comment was insensitive. I apologize to Jenny for taking away from her father the full attention he deserves." He goes on to say, Gabe Paul earned his place in the Reds Hall of Fame, same as the others who stood on that stage. "I am sorry that some of the focus is on my inappropriate remarks instead of solely on Gabe's achievement."
In my opinion, it not only shows that Johnny Bench is an anti-Semite, because if that is in your heart, if that is in your soul to say something like that, and a man of his age, and certainly in this era, you know better than to say something like that, which can be taken, not only just taken negatively, but is a negative connotation. But the thing that truly bothers me in all of this, Mark, is the laughter of the people around him. Tony Perez in the background and others. The moment it's said, ha ha ha, they're laughing. There's a room that is exploding in laughter when Johnny Bench talks about the fact that Gabe Paul only spent $400 on Pete Rose, and that's because he was Jewish. I'm insulted. I'm mortified at this, and it is part and parcel the anti-Semitism that has gripped America in my generation that I'm astounded at. And no, Johnny Bench, I don't take your apology sincerely whatsoever. It's nothing more than just there for public relations value. You are an anti-Semite. You have it in your heart and in your soul. And Mark, I think this is something that certainly goes well past sports and needs to be discussed in a generational concept of what's happening here in America. It's absolutely despicable.
I had heard the comment. I had not seen the video until just now. And just like you pointed out, that Tony Perez threw his head back in uproarious laughter, honestly, is as disappointing as the words that came out of Johnny Bench's mouth. There's no excuse for it. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no excuse for it. There is no apologizing for it. It's frustrating. It's infuriating. It's sad that we have to, deal with this nonsense so regularly, and for what? For a cheap joke. It just, to me, it has no place. To me, it has no place, and it should
is
be
the old joke.
disqualifying. And I'm sitting here shaking my head. I can't stop shaking my head. I'm going to concuss myself. There are no words to explain, how or why. There's just, I have nothing other than contempt, and disgust for, the bulk of the people in that room who went along with the, it's such a tired trope.
I want to get an apology from Tony Perez. I want to get an apology from everybody there. I want to hear from them. But of course, we're never going to hear it. And if they do issue an apology, it's a moot apology in many ways, because all it is,
what difference would it make? We know how they feel. They've shown
Yes.
us how they feel, and apologizing for an insensitive, crass, insulting remark
Means nothing.
It doesn't matter. You said it, you meant it. If you didn't mean it, you wouldn't have said it. If you didn't think it was funny, and if that's not how you feel, then you react the same way I do. I'm shaking my head. I didn't chuckle. I didn't laugh. Maybe because it hits close to home. But the fact of the matter is, if they had said that about, I don't want to start, throwing out, ethnic backgrounds or anything. But if somebody had made the same kind of comment about a different religious group,
No, go there. I mean, if
I
somebody would
I
have
would
said the same thing
still,
about Muslims, if they would have said the same thing about Asians, if they would have said the same thing um, about African Americans, it would have been incendiary
yeah, and
across
I
the
would not
media
have sat
landscape.
here and chuckled, and I wouldn't, if I was in the room, I wouldn't have chuckled. I would have done exactly what I did here today and just shook my head and just wept silently to myself in, the fact
And
that we
not
have to
only that,
deal
but
with
on
this
top of
garbage.
that, we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is making a statement where he talked about, and if you want to, anybody can find this out, where Kennedy has said that COVID-19 was engineered so that it would target Caucasians and Black Americans, where it was designed, and this is according to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s logic, it was made to protect Jews and the Chinese, in his own words. And there are people out there, Mark, who are backing this man for the Democratic presidential nomination and want to give him money. And if you put these two things together that happen so quickly against one another, it is the rising tide of anti-Semitism in this country that is unabated. That there are people who will laugh, that will say, yes, that's true. And my grandfather was Jewish. My grandfather, who had his own shop in New York City, and he's the one who taught me as a child. He said, people will make fun of your Jewish heritage, Edward, because they don't understand and they hate us. Why? I don't know. But that's what he taught me as a kid. So when I hear this, while I'm not afraid to say out loud, I am a practicer of two faiths, and I have been raised in two faiths in my life, but it wouldn't make a difference, my Jewish heritage. I still find it to be abhorrently disgusting and despicable. And it just, we got to discuss it, and we at least, I'm proud of bringing it to the fore here because people have got to understand it ain't funny.
It's not funny, and it's ignorant. It's just plain ignorance, and the rising tide, unfortunately, of the ignorami is
Good word.
just overwhelming. Well, you're right. I try with the words every once
You
in a
got it,
while.
man. You
I
nailed
try
that
to
one.
pull a good one out. And the multiple of ignoramus you would figure is ignorami. You just, again, all you can do is shake your head, and
Pay
you hope
attention, people.
you hope they figure it out before it's too late, but chances are they won't. And
No.
the rising tide of ignoramus behavior and the rising tide of the, we talk about the Illuminati. This is the rising tide of the ignorami, and they are going to create a tidal wave if they haven't already, and we are all in big trouble for it.
Well, I'm only
And
going to say that
all you can
Johnny
do
Bench,
is, just hope, or you try to educate people.
there's a light in this, Mark.
The more frustrating it gets.
You got to find a pinpoint of light in all this. The light in all this is that Johnny Bench, Tony Perez, the others who laughed, I am thankful that we now know who they are. And we know what's in their soul. And we don't have to guess, and we don't have to ask for apologies, but we can now know that these men, and I would love to get a list of everybody at that event who laughed. We're never going to see it. But I am appreciative of the fact that we now know who they are and what is in their soul, and you cannot erase it for the rest of time. That, to me, is the only positive that comes out of this.